Hello, everyone. My name is Mark, and I am a recovering fentanyl, heroin, opiate, alcohol, and meth user. Um, this is my story. I know it's a little unorthodox by doing this, but I promise you, my goal is to really affect everyone by doing this. So I'm going to have some really raw information and data, and as we all do. But I want to connect you to it. I want you to be able to relate and put yourself in my shoes through your own. With that being said, the first thing I want to show you guys is a video that I created while I was in treatment the third time. And I was going through detox. We were allowed to have our phones, as odd as that may seem, but we were. And I recorded myself going through that process. And this is what it sounded like. Now, when I play it, please do your best to listen and put yourself in that moment, um, and follow the instructions that come along with it, because this is a video that I made for other people that are in that same moment.
And so it ends. Or does it? I'm breathing. I wake up. Breathing. I wake up. My eyes open. And I feel it. It begins to pump. My blood flow. My energy. My all. Because I will not give up. I will fight. I will not give in. I must fight and continue to fight. Breathe and fight. It's your life. No one else's but yours. Look at everything you've done. How powerful you have been. Now fight. Fight. You're not going to give up. You're going to have weak days. You're going to have bad days. Hell, you're going to have some days where you, mess up. But that's okay. You know why? Because I was there. Actually, I am there right now. I am inpatient, voluntarily, fighting every day and every night. But I will fight. And I will not, ever, ever give in. I can't. So breathe. There you go. You can do it. Gather the strength. You need the strength. Listen to me every day, every night, because I will. And I'm here in the fight with you. And I'm not going to give up. You just keep pressing play, and your ears will keep on listening. You can't turn this off because you want this. Because if you didn't want this, you wouldn't be here now. You wouldn't be listening to me now. You wouldn't be shedding tears with me now. But that's okay. Because we're here. And we're going to fight like we have never fought before. Just like I fight back these tears. Because I know I can do it. Just like this guy is playing his solo, I can do it solo. But in the background, there's the support, and there's the harmony. And that harmony and support will be there. May not be now, and you may not think it's now, but they are. They are doing what needs to be done in order to keep you alive. My family does it with me, and I hate it. But I love it, because I know they care. We got this. Here we go. Gotta take deep breaths again. And see, another day's passed. Another hour has passed. Another 10 minutes has passed. But as it passes, that's just one more time that you haven't used, for whatever your reasons may be. They say it's supposed to be for yourself. You can't love yourself unless you love, I said that backwards. You can't love someone and help someone if you can't love yourself and help yourself. Well, I beg to differ. But in the end, there will come a time where I will fall and I won't be able to help. But I refuse, God damn it, I refuse to let that reason be due to this damn drug. Because it's fight. It's fight. All right, folks. You did it. Good job. I did it. Keep on fighting. Time to repeat. And so it ends. Or does it?
So there I am, raw in the moment. We can relate with that, I would imagine. And it's a daily struggle that we go through. So my journey actually begins in 1984. I was a young boy, and my parents had divorced, and I, unfortunately, was sexually abused by my stepsister. My dad had remarried to this woman, and his daughter, or her daughter, molested me. She would bring me in a closet, like the closet with those white sliding door things, and she would have me get on my knees, and she would take down her pants, and, well, the rest is, you understand. It's pretty egregious things that I had to go through. I really feel that has a lot to do with my sexual hyperactivity that I later had in life. And this is no fault due to my parents, because I didn't share anything about this until I was 36 years old. After that happening, I continued to live with my mom, and I visited my dad every other weekend. When I was 8 years old, I was vacuuming my house, my chores, and I didn't do a good job, I guess. So, come on, Mom, I'm 8 years old. Like, cut me some slack here, you know? I then told my mom, I was like, Mom, I want to go live with my dad. So she said, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. Well, I got that wish, and off to Germany I went. My grandfather flew me out there, and now I am in Germany. While in Germany, the abuse started happening now with my dad's next wife. My stepbrother and stepmom were physically abusive to me. And it was pretty rough. Not only that, but I was beat up at school. I was always running, trying to hide from the bullies. My lunch money was taken. You name it, and it happened. Not only that, but when my dad deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom, when my dad deployed to Storm Desert Shield in '90, my hair became very big. Meaning, in the Cuban culture, we call it peluca, which means lots of hair. And so I remember going into my sister's bathroom, grabbing her little leg shaver razor thingamajigger, and I would start cutting my hair, I thought. Well, little did I realize that I was going to turn into a leopard, and I would have to stay like that. That was my punishment, which obviously made things even worse. Halloween was no better. I essentially looked like a trash can walking around with this Burger King box. It was just the box with all the cups in it, with ketchup packets and wrappers and cups and all that. It was like a big joke for everybody, but for me, it was completely embarrassing. While everybody else got there to wear their awesome little costumes. During that time, my dad left that woman. We moved to Florida, and I was still pretty bad. Well, I would become bad in my 6th and 7th grade years. Um, I moved to California to live with my mom, and my stepdad there was the other side of the spectrum, where he was extremely intense, not physically abusive at all, but he was intense. He was a retired sheriff from LA County. He was a PI, tax sergeant in the Air Force. I mean, this guy was Mr. White Glove everywhere. My life revolved around football and chores, pretty much. So girls were not allowed to be in my life. Well, if girls weren't allowed to be in my life at age 13, I didn't want anything to do with you. So I told my mom, I want to go back to Florida and live with my dad. I want to have a life. So she said, fine. So back off to Florida I went. So at age 14, now I'm 14 and a half, I'm living with my dad. Again, going through, freshman, sophomore years. My stepmom, and I'm sure she regrets this to this day, says to me, Mark, it's okay that you talk to girls, After that, it was all over. That's when all this started happening, right? Because it had to be cool, it had to be in. So smoking cigarettes and smoking weed. I was working, making money to buy all this stuff. Not much. I mean, $4.35 an hour. But that led into drinking. That led into drugs. And that was my life for the last half of my high school career. Just lots of partying. So we lived in this house in Davie, Florida. And there's my room right there. Well, my dad, after he caught me sneaking out, because I would sneak out a lot, he finally caught me sneaking out. What he would do is he would nail my window shut. So, okay, well, bad on you, Dad, because that's a fire hazard, and I could have died if something bad happened. But, whatever. I was smart, or smarter than him, so I thought at the time. Well, I think I still am. But what I did was, I went ahead and snuck out that window, which was my bathroom window. And then I just went out to the side of the street there, jumped in the car with my friends, and off we went partying all night long. And I did that for two years. And it was what we all did as teenagers for the most part. I mean, that was the life, right? Drinking and drugging and having fun and just being completely careless about everything. So fast forward to April of '98, I knew that though I was doing great in school, my grades were much improved, I was in sports, I was in band, I mean, I was doing all that, but my social life was too chaotic and I was too much of a party animal, so I needed discipline in my body. So I decided on April 25th, 1998 to become a United States Marine. And in August, I went to boot camp, and in November, I graduated. While in service, I get married, and I have these two blessed little babies, Taylor Marie and Kayla Dorothy, and Taylor's in 2001, Kayla 2003. When OIF popped off, the very first one in 2003, I was in Iraq, and this was when I was now exposed to a new trauma. Right? I have my sexual trauma, I had this alcohol, drug stuff going through high school, trying to fit in, and then now I have combat. Never been to combat. I just was exposed to things that normal people should not be exposed to. There's nothing worse in my eyes than driving down the road and you see a body over on the right and a head over on the left. Smelling the flesh of a human being. Sights and sounds that cannot be undone or unseen in my head, but I had to deal with. While in Iraq, while that was all happening, I mean, it wasn't all bad, minus the not missiles of weapons of mass destruction and of being shot at with AK-47s and AT-4s and all that, or rocket RPGs, excuse me, all that junk. It wasn't all bad. All right. If you were able to manage your way through all the great, wonderful parking jobs of the Iraqi citizens, we had an opportunity to win the hearts and minds of the community, and I was able to shoot marbles with a young Iraqi boy. So it wasn't all bad out there in Iraq. Going through the rest of my career in the Marine Corps, my job was to fix electronics, and it was to teach hand-to-hand combat. I taught Marines how to survive on the battlefield, because it was either you kill or you be killed. Not like UFC where you can tap out or take a nap, you know, or whatever. This was for your life. So I spent the next 10 years or 10 years plus teaching hand-to-hand combat while traveling the world. Now, the Marine Corps was founded in a bar called Tun Tavern in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And so there's lots of drinking that was involved. I was able to travel the world. It was great. Yeah. Leads me into my very first surgery. Just before I went to Afghanistan, I tore my labrum, and this was when I was first exposed to pain meds. I didn't take the medication that they wanted. I requested something softer, so that way I can still perform at work. And so I was doing the Tylenol and Motrin, bouncing back and forth, whatever. But I didn't have time to sit here and rely on pain pills. I had to get myself better. I had 5 months before we deployed that next 6 months to prove that I was physically fit to go to combat. Coming back from that, more exposures to more traumas out there. A friend of mine lost his leg stepping on a pressure plate, and that is not a pretty sight. Doing more hand-to-hand combat stuff. I was ruptured my bicep tendon, teaching a Marine a technique, and told him, don't do this. So what does he do? He does it to me, and it worked. See, my bicep, you hear this loud pop, goes up my shoulder, and yeah. So I went to the hospital, whatever, did all that stuff, and again, very minimal pain medication. Just didn't want to do it. I retired from there because my body was absolutely destroyed, and continue on with the surgeries. I had more surgeries on my feet, one on my elbow. I mean, it was just constant. Now, this is when I got addicted to drugs. I was already drinking lots of alcohol, and my daughter, I was drinking so much alcohol that my daughter had come up to me and asked me to stop drinking, and I was like, done, and I did. I wish I could do that with the drugs, but I wasn't able to. But I did it with the alcohol, but I was already using drugs at that point. So I was on so much opiates. When I finally got cut off from it, when they realized I was addicted to it and they cut me off, I couldn't stop. I had to be resourceful to maintain my addiction. This is when I got introduced to higher level type pills, and then that became super expensive. So I resorted to heroin. And I didn't even know heroin. I thought heroin was only done through veins or through needles, whatever. I did not know that you could smoke it. And when I realized that you can smoke it, I was, man, let me friggin' tell you. I thought that my life was A-okay. Because every single pain that I possibly had went away. Until it didn't. And then I had to start breaking laws because I couldn't afford this heroin anymore. I mean, I was making a lot of money, but I couldn't afford the addiction. So I had to start selling things and stealing things and going with friends to do things that were not legal. And then that eventually led into fentanyl. And once you get hooked on the fentanyl, some of you may know, it's almost like the beginning of the end unless you do something about it. So in those 6 years of me breaking laws, using fentanyl, and doing all these things, destroying my life, I managed to go to rehab, I'll say 5 times, because the 6th time is the special one, of my last one. But if you notice the common theme there, in every single one of them, I AMA'd. I actually AMA'd twice when I went to California to this company called Profound. I went there for a week, and I said, screw this, I'm out of here. Went to the airport, and I said, what am I doing? Get your ass back there. You need to do this and get it done. So I went back into treatment, and then I AMA'd 2 weeks later. And then I lived in the airport parking lot for another 2 weeks or so. Sold my iPad and got money for a rental car to go buy drugs, to get a meal, and I lived off of that for the next 2 weeks. I just could not come to telling my family that I had another mistreatment. Because they were supposed to pay for me to go back, but I was like, AMA. And yes, in my 6th visit, my last visit, technically I did AMA, but it was after 60 days. And there's some, I don't really feel like, that there was much left there for me. They just extended me for another 45 days. But I was ready to go. I had all the tools that I had, and I was becoming very disgruntled there. And I'm okay with that. Never got I never got coined out, but hey, I left. I AMA'd. So, and I didn't even tell them. I just got on an airplane after class one day, hour and a half later, gone. So, with that being said, all this unresolved trauma, right? Drinking, the PTSD, the failed relationships, the poor transition I had going from the Marine Corps to civilian life, everything had been magnified through drugs and alcohol. But the drugs had numbed all the emotional pain on top of the physical pain that I was going through. I was constantly reminded of how much of an embarrassment I was to the family, how worthless I was, that I was a junkie, I was an oxygen thief. I was even told that I need to hurry up and OD and die because nobody wants me here anymore. Who says that to somebody? The power of words is so tremendous. But that was told to me. And someone in my family said that to me. So now, I am in this massive pit. I need Jesus. I didn't believe in Jesus, but I needed Jesus. I had lost 2 cars, a 6-figure job. I failed to complete my college degree in project management. I lost my house. Matter of fact, it just sold. A $650,000 house just sold for $18,000. And a marriage. But that marriage was toxic. The whole time I was married, I was an addict. I was looking, constantly searching for ways to cover up this addiction and to find some sort of hope somewhere. In that time, I felt so alone. I was in the dark. Pitch black room, no windows. Couldn't see the hand in front of me. That's scary. But nothing, as scared as I was, nothing was more important than my addiction. Everything came second to my addiction. I'm just sitting here thinking about all this, and it's amazing the things that I did while I was using. Thinking that I was doing good for myself. I was just killing myself. I went to Arizona when my mom remarried, because my stepdad had passed away from a brain tumor or a brain cancer, and those blastoma ones. It was bad. But after he died, I actually asked my mom for if I could have his morphine, so that way I can be better. Forget mourning the loss of my father, but I'd rather have the morphine. She remarries, and I'm using fentanyl. Look at me, I look gray. I look like I'm dead. I'm there physically, but I'm not there mentally. I was supposed to walk my mother down the aisle, which I did. But I wasn't even there. It's even worse than that. My daughter gave birth to my grandbaby, and I was not there. I could not be there because I was too high. I was consumed in drugs. My daughter told me, "Daddy, you can never meet her unless you are sober." Well, I'm over a year sober now. And I met my baby after treatment. And baby Delilah, she's now almost 2.5 years old, and boy, she giving my daughter hell, and I love it. It's awesome. Yeah. My addiction was more important than that. The loves of my life. Sports, I love bowling. Music, I love playing saxophone. Family, I love my daughters, and I will do anything for my daughters. Anything for all my children. I will do anything for. My dogs. I've had those two little rascals since they were born. Here in the past year, they've both passed away. And let me tell you how hard that was to deal with. But I did it sober. I mean, Stuart there, the black pug, he died in my arms. It's just unreal. The things that you miss out on life. All because of addiction. Because that becomes your focus. That became my focus. That's all that mattered to me. Through that whole time, God and Jesus Christ has always been there. And I'm going to give you a few examples here. Pretty remarkable. I went to church as a young boy, and I never knew what the hell was going on. I never understood it because it was all in Spanish, and I was a little boy. I would see my grandmother, she would be doing her thing, and then she would fall down. I'm like, abuela, ¿qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? Because I thought she was hurt. She fell down, but she was just being touched by the Lord. I had close friends, one of which is my girlfriend now, that would always remind me that God is protecting me. Through my addiction, 2 people in particular, and some family that are very, very religious, would always pray for me. And then comes trotting along Miss Erica. It's just amazing. It really is. Every time I tried to end my life with fentanyl, or every time I was smoking fentanyl with people next to me from the same stash that we all got together, they would pass out, sometimes wake up, sometimes they wouldn't wake up. But I always woke up. How is that possible? When I was in the hospital, in treatment, this last time, and when I was at my treatment center, 2 different people said the exact same thing to me. It's like God was speaking into their hearts to speak to me. And they said to me, Mark, the Lord is your shepherd. You can do this. You just gotta go get it. Now, in treatment, I know we don't believe in this 13th step, right, of rehab hookup. And when I went to treatment, I went there for my sole purpose of myself, as did Erica. She went for her purpose of herself. But in that time of us being there, we became very vulnerable with the people around us. We were vulnerable with one another. We became good friends. And that was all, that was it. We were just there for one another. And that grew into something so much more. We're not codependent. We have our own journeys. We have our own ways of going about our journeys. But we do it together. And it's been over a year now, since we met. I mean, and she asked me, Mark, do you believe in religion? Do you believe in God? I'm not woke. I'm not awoke. I'm just aware now. So I've been in all these treatment centers all over the United States, not all over the United States, California, Washington, Florida, Oregon. What got me to wake up? Knowing that I am willing to do whatever it takes to maintain sobriety. Jonathan Perry, who is the alumni coordinator for Amethyst, asked me that question on my second day of treatment. Mark, what are you willing to do to maintain your sobriety? And I said to him, hello, I'm here, anything, right? Well, that was tested. And when I got tested, I went to the hospital. I was there for like 10 days. You know, I was so damn sick from detoxing, from fentanyl. I come back and I'm still sick. 4 days later, like, Mark, you gotta go back to the hospital. I'm like, F this, send me back to Oregon. I'll figure this shit out on my own. And here comes Jonathan Perry, prancing along. Little guy, smaller than me. And he says to me, Mark, what are you willing to do to maintain your sobriety? Bro, there's a time and it ain't now. But he was right. And then, there went that break. Well, on January 2nd, 2024, I gave birth. Yes, I'm the first man to give birth with male parts. I gave birth to baby sobriety. She has a name and she has a birthday. And I have given sobriety life. Just as I'm willing to do anything for my daughters, I'm willing to do for my sobriety. How about them apples? My mindset has completely changed. Once I realized that I was finally powerless in all this process, and I'm going to be real with you, I'm not all about the 12 steps. I follow some of them, and I haven't gone through them all, and I haven't done this 12-step program. However, once I realized that I was powerless in this entire process, I was led to die. Once I had accepted everything was not mine in life, once I realized I had no control, and I truly let go of that control, things started changing for me. So what am I doing different? What have I done different this time? What am I doing that is actually working now? Well, I sure as heck no longer tell anybody to trust me. I don't make any promises. So when someone says, Mark, promise me this. Nope. When instead of me saying, trust me, I tell them, instead of trusting me, I want you to look with your own eyes and trust with what you see. Oh, there's a thought. Takes the burden off of everybody, puts it on yourself. I'm sure as heck not going to own your emotions or have to feel responsible for not meeting your expectations. That no longer happens with me. When I'm in my own head, because we tend to do that as addicts, we tend to do it as people. When I'm in my own head, I record myself. I record myself when I'm sober. Matter of fact, I'm recording myself right now. And I'll go back and analyze all this stuff. And I'll see what's going on in that brain of mine. Because sometimes we fail to remember things that we don't want to remember. Sound accurate? Here's a big one. I look through my windshield and not my rear view mirror. What the heck does that mean, Mark? Well, you're driving down the road, right? You're in your automobile with your baby beside you at the wheel, and you have this big old windshield. If you were not to focus on that windshield and you were to focus on that little rear view mirror, what's going to happen to you? You're going to wreck. If I look at my rear view mirror, I am staring at my past. I am looking at what's behind me, what I've already surpassed in my life. Why would I want to focus on that? I'll look back, just like when I'm driving. I look at my rearview mirror and I acknowledge what is back there. I am mindful of what is back there, but I don't feed it power, and I sure as hell don't let it control what's going to happen here in my present or in my future. Make sense? Your past is history. Your future is a gift. Oh wait, I said that wrong. Your past is history. Your future is a mystery. And today is a gift. So open your gift and enjoy it. What's my next step? I ask myself that almost every other day. You can ask Erica. Actually, I think she's in the other room watching this because she hasn't even seen this yet. What's my next step? Mark, what are you going to do next? How are you going to stay ahead of this addiction? How are you going to stay ahead of this demon? Good thoughts. You know, I have not returned to my toxic life. When I left Florida, I was supposed to go back to Oregon, but I didn't. I went to Texas with my trash bag of clothes, no notice to anybody other than who I was coming to live with, which was Erica. I left. Now I went to Oregon to grab a couple things and my dogs, and then I drove, and I was there for 2 hours. I was in Oregon for 2 hours to handle business. And I got the hell out of Dodge. Just, that life was not for me. That's what I'm willing to do to maintain sobriety. I let it all go. Staying out of my own way, we know that, right? We tend to be in our way too much. My heart is now filled with self-love and not self-sabotage. We just don't do that anymore. No point of destroying ourselves. And how do I do this? Well, it's pretty simple, obviously. We've talked about this many times in treatment. I am honest, and I am brutally honest. You ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. If you don't like that answer, guess what? That ain't my problem. That's your problem. You asked the question. I maintain that boundary now. I separate, and I no longer own people's emotions. And I'm also honest with myself. As much as I may not want to hear or deal with my truth, I deal with it. I'm open-minded to take suggestions because obviously, previous to this past year, but before that, my choices were not good choices. So being open-minded to take suggestions to do something different and better. The hard part is the willingness to actually go and do it. Mark, what are you willing to do to maintain sobriety? I'm willing to do anything until it actually happens and it's like, shit. I must get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because everywhere I go, guess who is right there? Me. These are all concepts that we've learned in treatment, but these are concepts that I apply to my daily life that keep me sober. Now, I wanted to end this with this story. And it's...
Hello, everybody.
Gotta start right
Let's
now.
talk. Here's today's metaphor. A broken crayon can still write. Now, what in the world does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Or what does that have to do with my addiction? Well, let me explain to you. Here we go. You take a broken crayon. Actually, let me backtrack that. You take a crayon and you write with it. No problems. However, if you begin to put pressure on that crayon, ever so slightly, what happens to that crayon? And then when you put a lot of pressure on that crayon, a lot of external pressure, what happens to the crayon? It breaks. As an addict, we find ourselves in this world of righteousness. We find us in this world of everything is going wrong, so all we want to ever do is isolate and get away and drink, drug, watch porn, shop, whatever it is that is addictive in nature. Heck, it could be cleaning. It doesn't matter. Addictive behaviors are addictive behaviors. We are broken at that point. Our lives are unmanageable at that point. Just as when a crayon is broken, you would think that it is unmanageable. But here's the catch. You take that crayon, and though it has a jagged, rough edge on it now, you put that crayon to paper, what is it going to do? That's right. It will write. Though jagged, though rough around the edges, it may not be perfect, but it still writes. And as time goes on, as the days go by, that crayon begins to smooth right back out to the way that it was when you first had it. So what's the lesson behind this? Well, there's two. Lesson one, even though you may be broken, you can still do what you need to do to get out of where you are. And the second lesson is, you need to relax. Because if you allow those pressures to get to you, you put pressure on yourself, you will break yourself. So just relax and take things day by day by day. Or in my case, 15 minutes at a time. My expectations are lower, manageable, and I still inspect what I expect. You can do the same. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you for listening to my story. I hope I was able to connect with at least one person tonight.